All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at how to literally future-proof your career in the age of AI, and we're going to do it by examining a really brilliant historical blueprint. Because let's face it, technology is moving at a breathtaking pace right now. And the real problem? It's not the technology itself, it's that traditional education just can't catch up. So, to figure out how to become what the source material calls dangerously self-educated, we're going to look at one of the greatest success stories in history.
We actually have to begin with a tragedy of disruption. Picture this. It's 1840s Scotland, and a man named William Carnegie is a master weaver. The constant, steady tick-tock of his hand loom was literally the heartbeat of his household. It was a respected generational trade. But then, a completely new sound emerged in their town, the mechanical roar of steam-powered looms. Basically overnight, a machine could weave in an hour, what took William all day. His deep, lifelong skills completely wiped out.
And honestly, doesn't this historical tragedy perfectly mirror our modern anxiety? I mean, decades ago, a degree guaranteed you a lifelong career based on a static set of knowledge. But today, just like that steam loom, artificial intelligence is automating entire industries overnight. The skills you're learning today have a very high probability of becoming completely irrelevant in just 6 to 12 months.
So, to survive this massive shift, we're going to break down the four-step EDGE framework that William's son Andrew Carnegie used to adapt and conquer. We'll cover the threat of disruption, the four pillars: explore, deepen, generate, and expand, and then wrap up with a modern application for these tools.
Okay, starting off with Section 1, the threat of disruption and surviving the shift.
You see, after the steam loom wiped out their income, the Carnegie family fell into deep poverty. Young Andrew watched his mother work odd jobs day and night just to survive, right up until they eventually borrowed some money and fled to America, landing in Pittsburgh. Because of this extreme hardship, Andrew's formal schooling ended really early, but it led him to a profound realization. He realized that education absolutely does not end when school ends. In a world of constant disruption, continuous self-education is a lifelong survival imperative.
Which brings us to Section 2 and the very first step of our framework, explore. Building your syllabus.
Explore essentially means you can't just sit around waiting for someone else to hand you a curriculum. Let's be real, traditional school syllabuses are often outdated anyway. Instead, true self-education begins by asking what you need to learn based on your specific goals. For instance, Andrew Carnegie got a job as a telegraph messenger boy, but instead of just delivering messages and calling it a day, he explored. The streets of Pittsburgh became his classroom. He memorized every single street, he noticed exactly which businesses received the most messages, and he closely observed how commerce and money actually flowed. He built his own syllabus purely out of curiosity.
Moving right along to Section 3, deepen, mastering core skills.
Think about our modern world for a second. Consuming a dozen short videos might give you some shallow awareness of a topic, but it certainly isn't going to give you the ability to build a complex AI app, right? Deep mastery always beats shallow awareness. Carnegie focused obsessively on the telegraph machine. While everyone else just saw dots and dashes on paper, Carnegie deepened his focus so intensely that he actually learned to translate the Morse code clicks entirely by ear. This was an incredibly rare, deep capability, and it quickly caught the attention of a powerful railroad executive named Thomas Scott, who hired him on the spot.
So, how did he do it? Well, he achieved this depth by leaning heavily on what we can call his 4 lifelong teachers. First, books. A local businessman opened his personal library of 400 books to working boys every Saturday, and Carnegie just devoured them. Second, people. Learning directly from mentors like Thomas Scott. Third, observation, carefully watching the really intricate logistics of railroad operations. And finally, experience, relentlessly applying the knowledge he absorbed, rather than just passively holding on to it.
That leads us perfectly into Section 4, generate, learning by doing.
There is this massive misconception out there that you have to finish learning before you can start doing. But the truth is, doing doesn't come after learning, doing is a part of learning. You can't just endlessly consume podcasts, books, and online courses. I mean, if you study coding but never actually write an app, or if you study sales but never make a pitch, you're entirely missing the point. You absolutely must actively generate output.
The real secret lies in a snappy, continuous loop. Input what you learn, generate an output by actually taking action, get feedback on that action, and use that feedback to drive your improvement. This exact loop is how real capabilities and massive companies are built, and Carnegie proved its effectiveness under intense pressure during a massive crisis.
Get this. One day, his boss Thomas Scott was away when a massive train wreck brought the entire railway line to a complete standstill. Every single minute ticking by meant huge financial losses. Now, normally, only Scott had the authority to issue orders to fix this, but Carnegie didn't wait around. Using everything he had observed and learned about railway operations, he generated results by taking decisive action. He rapidly redirected trains and cleared the wreck entirely on his own. By the time Scott returned, he realized Carnegie wasn't just a good learner, he was a natural leader.
All right, on to Section 5, the final piece of the framework: expand, leveraging your network.
Look, you simply cannot learn everything yourself. There just isn't enough time in the day. To truly grow, you have to scale your capabilities using mentors, peers, and experts. Case in point, Thomas Scott tipped Carnegie off about a hot new investment in sleeping cars for trains. Carnegie didn't have the funds himself, but he discussed it with his mother, who boldly mortgaged their home to get a loan. No pressure, right? But by expanding his trust into his mentor's knowledge, Carnegie made the investment and saw a massive return. He learned firsthand that immense wealth is generated not just by hard labor, but by strategic investments guided by the right network.
And this forward-thinking mindset was put to the ultimate test a bit later in his life. As Carnegie expanded globally, he learned about something called the Bessemer process for making steel. Now, while all of his competitors were stubbornly clinging to the outdated, slow, and expensive iron industry, Carnegie saw the future. He didn't hesitate for a second. He aggressively expanded all his capital and energy into the new, fast, cheap, and incredibly strong technology of steel.
And because he anticipated the future and applied every single step of his self-education, Carnegie eventually sold his steel company. The story goes that he handed a slip of paper with a single number on it to the legendary J.P. Morgan in a meeting that lasted less than 15 minutes. Morgan accepted immediately, buying the company for an astonishing $480 million. To put that into perspective, that is roughly $400 billion in today's money. This made Carnegie the richest man in the world and created the first true billion-dollar corporation.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, applying the EDGE framework today using tools for the AI era.
Now, Carnegie knew firsthand the incredible power of accessible knowledge. Remembering how that one local library opened so many doors for him as a kid, he actually spent the latter part of his life donating his vast wealth to build thousands of libraries worldwide, ensuring future generations had the tools to self-educate. He didn't just leave behind a steel empire, he left behind a literal legacy of knowledge.
Drawing direct inspiration from that philosophy of accessible knowledge, the source creator of this framework offers a platform to practice these EDG principles right now. As you can see on the screen, for a 99 INR monthly investment, they provide a summary board featuring lessons from 70 top books, which actually includes books studying Carnegie himself. It also grants you access to a community focusing on 21-day challenges like mastering new AI skills, along with daily live calls to help members deepen their knowledge, generate real-world action, and expand their professional networks.
All of this brings us to the real crux of the matter. Just as William Carnegie faced the steam loom, you and I are currently facing the lightning speed of artificial intelligence and technological disruption. If the game is changing, you have to change with it. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you actively using self-education to adapt to the AI era? Or are you stubbornly sticking to the hand loom, just waiting to be replaced?